Welcome to PÖFF TV. We're incredibly lucky today to be joined by director Amanda Sans Pantling and producer Tammy Hart, and they are responsible for the film Miss Jobson. So welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. We're happy to be here at the Black Nights Film Festival.
Great. How's your time so far? Have you watched any films? Or
we were last night at the opening, watching
There Will Be Dust.
Yeah,
it
There
was
Will Be Dust
wonderful.
from Carlos Marquez Merced, which is a Spanish director. Nice, we loved it.
Great. Any films that you're planning to watch? Anything on your watch list so far?
Well, we have lots that we want to watch, but we're just so focused on our opening tonight, right now, that after that, then we'll just relax and flow.
It's our world premiere, so it's a really exciting day for us because it's the first time that the film is going to be seen out in the world, and after so many years working on it, it's like we are just dying to do it. And then as of tomorrow, we'll relax.
Amazing. So let's start. Do you mind introducing your film? Can you tell us a bit about it, and the character and the story?
Okay.
I'll do it. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is an intimate but at the same time full of light and funny portrait about a iconic Rastafarian lawyer from Jamaica called Diane Jobson. She used to be Bob Marley's lawyer and a very close friend, and now that she's turned 80, she's just spending time with her best friend and you know, reflecting on her life and her legacy. So it's about her story, life story, but at the same time, it's about getting old and looking back on your life.
But we should say she's not a typical 80-year-old, because when we hear that, we think, oh, that's going to be a slow-paced film, maybe. Can you tell me a bit more about her? You know, what kind of character is she?
I think it's interesting if Tammy maybe tells us how she met her, the way the conversation they first had, because they're neighbors, and that's how we met Diane and Tammy. Just tell her.
Yeah, so 4 years ago, I moved into a new community, and I happened to meet Diane Jobson. And from the moment I met her, I was jaw-dropped by her way. And I would ask her a question, and she would be sweeping the floor, and I would just lean on the wall and listen to her talk. And then I'd see her walking. I'd say, Diane, how far do you walk? And she goes, I do about a 2-spliff walk one way. And just being around her, I just was so just inspired by her youthfulness and her enthusiasm for her own life and doing it her way.
And then as a producer, you thought she'd be great for a feature. What was your thought process there, or what even in terms of the film that you maybe thought at the time to make?
Okay, well, Amanda and I have worked on 2 films together before, so we have an intimate relationship working together. And we knew that we wanted to do another film, but we also wanted to be something that just had this lightness. And she just fit the ticket, because this is a woman of great depth and complexity, but also full of light.
We had done a lot of social drama in Jamaica together, and I've done it on my own too. And we always said, okay, we are not doing anything that reflects the sense of humor from Jamaica, because Jamaica is so full of sense of humor. And Diane is like the perfect balance between that sense of humor, that Jamaican craziness, but I'm saying craziness in a nice, positive way, because they're so creative. They have even invented their own music. But also balancing the story of a powerful woman that has a commitment with her Rastafarian journey. And I think that the film is a perfect balance between those 2 tones.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of a protagonist or a contributor, how was she? Did you say we want to make a feature film about you? Was she willing immediately?
Oh gosh, no, it was hard work, I'm telling you. So we've been doing it for 4 years, and more or less the first 2 years, it was about, you know, earning her, gaining her trust, and creating a space, because she was open to do it, but she was a bit ambivalent, because, you know, she's a Rastafarian, so, you know, she was thinking maybe this is vanity, you know, so she was ambiguous about it, and we knew that we have to give her space. And so it was, you know, building that trust. And I was coming from Barcelona, so I had to do a lot of work of, okay, this needs time. And once, you know, she trusted us, once she trusted me as a director, she trusted you as a producer, because they knew each other. then we found the space. But she's a tough character. But on the other hand, I knew that I had gold, so it was just about patience and waiting, and it worked.
Because actually the opening scene, I don't think it's to give anything away, but she actually says the word action, which is normally reserved for the director. So how was she to actually direct?
Well, to be honest, at the very beginning, she was trying to direct me. And so I had to, this project has been one of the best projects of my life, but the hardest project of my life, because she also, she had issues with the camera. She was saying the camera's draining my energy, so she was trying to direct me. So I had to find all sorts of strategies to shoot with her without her noticing what I was doing. And so it was a game. And that opening scene, it's fun because on the second year I was shooting, or the third, I left. And that same day that I was on the plane, Tammy calls me when I land in London, says, well, Amanda, don't get stressed, but she wants to shoot something else. And so she wanted to be dressed up with her Ethiopian clothes. And I said, well, I'm in London, so just shoot the scene. And she just sat there and she said, action. Nobody told her to say that, and she said it. So I said, okay, I am just putting that on the opening scene because this is reflecting what I've been through,
Oh, that's so interesting.
Very observant of you.
None of this is on camera, obviously. That relationship between filmmaker is fascinating.
Yeah.
And, what we should mention, so obviously she's not just taking long walks on the beach. She's 80 years old and a practicing lawyer. I believe, what's her nicknames? Is it the
Rasta lawyer, or
and
poor people's lawyer?
Yeah, can you just talk to a bit more about that role that she's still very active in?
Yeah, well, after Bob died, she went into the background for a little while, and then she re-emerged and decided to act as a lawyer to defend the defenseless, as she puts it. And that's how she spends her entire time. And people sometimes pay her by bringing loads of bananas, or she's out there fighting for them, and she's known as a tough and very good lawyer.
Yeah, she's she still she has trials every day at the Supreme Court, which we try to shoot, but it's not possible in Jamaica. But she wins like 90% of her cases, which is amazing because have you seen in the film that she smokes a lot of ganja? But her brain is just brilliant, and she really has a mission of defending the defenseless. So it's really, we respect her for that a lot.
Yeah. And the film, we should mention, because the film could almost be called Diane and Sally. That relationship is beautiful. Can you just talk a little more about that? Because it's not just Diane's story. How did you find Sally, and what's her involvement in the film?
Well, that's interesting because at the very beginning, the inspiration was a Diane and Sally story, and they both were open to doing it and sharing in it, although both a little intimidated about being in the front. And then once we started, it was clear that it needed to be mostly about Diane Jobson, but Sally being a good contributing part of it.
Yeah, I think she's a great secondary character because Diane's life is surrounded by violence, and she has hard work, and it's heavy, and then Sally brings that light and that playful Diane out. So I think that it was a very good combination. And Sally's 84, so she's also going through a process, and they both lived their life on their own terms. They're unique, and I think that it was the perfect combination to explain the story, because it's about the passage of time and getting old.
I don't think anyone would ever believe they're that age. I mean, not to give too much away, but they're hiking and zip lining and stuff.
Smoking and everything.
The smoking.
Smoking is like, it's a funny story because I was stressed out at the beginning thinking, well, I will not have continuity with the amount of spliff they're smoking, and I was worried about continuity of the shots. And then since they smoke so much, I had continuity all the time. I didn't have to worry about the shots because there was always a spliff there, and
it's not often you have to worry about ganja continuity when you're filming.
Well, we had to carry ganja on our car too.
Oh my goodness. In terms of the film then, so when you started, so was it because I think I read that you like to almost script and then shoot? Is that correct? So you have kind of quite a solid plan. Was this slightly different to your normal kind of way of working, as in the story evolved?
Yes, it was a bit different in this case because all the plans I had written didn't work at all. Because Diane was a kind of in control, and every time I was proposing something, it kind of she didn't want to, it couldn't happen. So I just said, okay, just open your chakras, and and I started to take a very pay a lot of attention of what were Diane's conflicts, and also the conversations that Sally and her were having were all the time about these road trips they were taking in Jamaica with a red car when they were young, and they kept on talking about the same, and how they lived their life when they were young. And then when they I shot this, Tammy told me, well, they like to draw each other, so I shot that scene where they draw each other, and then the conversation that emerged there was to me an epiphany. That's when I saw, I know what film I have, what they were talking about there. I say, okay, I know it. And then that's how I rebuilt the script, and I brought it to the place that it's now.
Oh wow! Okay, so very much evolved as you went.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, anyway.
Yeah, it was a different process from my regular process, but they are, the story and Jamaica and the characters just ask that, be creative.
You did mention the road trips and the driving. For me, some of the driving is some of the most hilarious things I've ever seen. Without giving too much away, what's it like to be in the car with Diane when she's driving?
Oh,
buckle up.
I mean, there's one scene that she's driving saying asshole, and I'm in the back with my monitor just almost praying, thinking, I hope she just stops the car. And then when we shot with the red car, I think that Tammy and I that day almost end our relationship because it was the worst scene that I've ever shot in my life, having these two women, Sally on the main road. Sally could not find the brakes. We were like 8 cars shooting that scene. Well, crazy. I don't smoke ganja, and that day I thought I need ganja. I just can't cope with this anymore.
Yeah, maybe that's the only way to be a passenger in that car. No, I felt that watching it. So you obviously.
But Tammy drives more or less the same. So not quite, not as bad as Diane, but hey, I was surrounded by rough drivers.
And in terms of audience attending, what would you hope people take away from this film? What would you hope the message is, or they'll learn?
Live your life and be yourself, and just follow in your own footsteps.
To me, I don't think I could have done this film like when I was in my 20s or my 30s, and now that I'm older, I'm still young, but I'm older than my 20s. I think that the authenticity of these women being on their 80s and with the dignity they've aged, and we women that suddenly become invisible as we are 45, 50, and then they are showing you how you can be young no matter what age you have. And for me, that was a lesson. So the two of them are a big reference to me, because I've always been trying to be really authentic, and they are, I want to be like them when I grow old.
I think we all do. It was very inspiring, and as you both. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And I hope tonight's premiere goes very well.
Thank you.
Thank you to the audience for joining us too.